Morning, what is going on, guys? Today we are talking about, well, of course, the King of Hammers. So had a chance to go check it out, but before we get into that, I am your host, Victor, and this is the Chasing Waypoints podcast. If you guys are just joining us for the first time, this is where we talk rally raid, dual sport, and, well, I don't know, adventure bikes and all sorts of other stuff. So if you haven't already, you know what to do, but that's not what we're here for. Let's talk about the King of Hammers, 2026 King of Hammers. This event has evolved into something absolutely wild. It's starting off as basically a rock crawling event, something that I really didn't pay a lot of attention to. It really wasn't my forte. Not really into the whole mountain goat thing and finding rocks and, I want to climb that kind of thing, right? So over the years, the event has grown to multiple weekends. They have a King of Motos, so now they do a moto component to this, and then they also do the vehicle component, and the vehicle component has gone far beyond just the rock crawling days and its roots. It's now including that. It includes UTVs and even the trophy truck categories, going out and racing a 30-40 mile loop that they do, and so it has turned into a very big event. And when I say that it is a city out there, it's a city that sets up out of nowhere. It just absolutely mind-boggling how big this is. The amount of people, the amount of spectators, the amount of competitors. It is crazy. And it is a continuous line of people coming in and coming in and coming in. And it's absolutely wild. So definitely, if you haven't already, you gotta check it out once. All right. I don't know. Maybe this is like the Burning Man of rock crawling thing. I don't know. But it was a really, really awesome time. And the whole reason we were out there, it was to actually help welcome back Sarah Price and Ricky Brabeck after their Dakar journey. And so we all know the stories, Sarah Price doing very well, Ricky Brabeck doing very well, setting another historical landmark with the closest margin ever in a Dakar rally. And so it was really cool to see, welcome them back and then just kind of hang out. And it was really awesome that it was actually through part of something that both Ricky and Sarah have teamed up called the Rip and Dip Ranch. And so they set up basically this bivouac in the middle of the King of Hammers show event. And we were able to hang out a little bit for them, or with them, I should say. And just look around, Sarah racing the UTVs. Ricky had his UTV there as well. And they were there mingling, and there was a lot of people. And so before we go too far down, it was really cool. I actually got the invite from Darren and Aaron from Sonora Rally to come check it out and hang out with them. And we had a chance to catch up with some of the rally families. So here's an interview with Darren from Sonora Rally. And then with him is going to be Willem Amidon Racing, recent Dakar competitor and now a Dakar coach that helps people get to the Dakar Rally and kind of get them prepared for, what they're about to take on. So very, very interesting. So check out this interview and we'll be right back. Where are we at?
We are at King of the Hammers. We're at the 40 at Sarah and Ricky's Dakar celebration party at January 2026. So super excited. Should be a bunch of Dakar folks here from the U.S., people who've been dreaming of going, and it's good to be here.
Yeah, it's been crazy. Darren was kind enough to show us around today, and it's been mind-blowing out here. Like the King of the Hammers is something else. Like it's one thing you have to see at least once in your life.
I don't know how much you can see with all this dust.
No, it's pretty bad, but today was pretty good. Yeah.
So, you got a lot of off-road racers. Have you guys talked to any of these guys that are interested in getting into rally? But I'm not going to say chicken, but
over the years I have, and also here this weekend. Always, every year I've come to King of the Hammers, I always get people come up to me as really curious, ask a lot of questions. What's Dakar like? And what's cool about this event is because everyone's here for a week camping, you can create a bivouac and kind of tell them, hey, this is what it's like when you go to Dakar, except we move, a lot of miles every day. But yeah, there's always a lot of interest, and that's one of the reasons we're here is to, talkers tonight. There'll be a lot of people here who are coming curious about the Dakar, so we're here to answer questions.
Dakar curious.
Yeah, Dakar curious.
Rally curious people. Yeah.
Rally.
Yeah.
But I mean,
That's a term you came up with, right? You coined that, I think. Yeah, the rally curious.
Rally
Yeah,
curious.
that's a Victor term.
It's I think it's one of those that there's a lot of people that are curious that they just don't know where to start. That's the,
And that's what's great about this gathering is you have people like Willem, who has fought hard to get to Dakar, finish the Dakar, going through that process. You can tell his story to people, and we have people like Ricky, two-time winner of Dakar, one of the best riders in the world in Rally Raid, also here. So you get to chat with people that have all these diverse experiences. So if you do go, having all these friendships and relationships is great, because in the bivouac you see a familiar face.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yep.
So that's why I think it was important to have this event here. I'm really glad that Ricky and Sarah put it on.
yeah.
Yeah, I think, there's two things that you said there which I love. So the one is we've got our rally school in Namibia, similar to what you do in Sonora, which is great. And we had two guys meet each other there, and then they did Rally de Maroc. And the value you have of seeing somebody at the finish line or at the start, because when you're in the race, you're on your own, right? It's so in your own space. And if you've had a tough day and you finish and you see a friendly face, you're just like, oh my God, I know that guy, and you run over there and you talk, and it feels like you have a friend.
Yeah.
And I think this is what events like this, like earlier tonight, there's a lot of guys here that's planning to do Dakar. We've got Paul Hart, he's a new guy, and Justin Jumet is here tonight, and Ryan Yerino, and just seeing the three of them gravitate towards each other. If they do it when they get there, they'll be like, oh, you remember that night at King of the Hammers? So I really think that events like this really, really helps foster community. So I love that concept of it.
What do you think from both of you guys? What's that number one question? That first question you guys get? Is there a common theme?
For getting into rally, overall for me, I talk too much, so I don't think there's time for questions. I just tell them. No, overall, I think the thing for me is the questions are very, very often kind of ill-informed, because we're in rally, we know, but the biggest thing is people think they come to an event like this and they think we race on a GPS track.
Yeah.
And telling them, I was telling people today about tulips, and they're like, that's so crazy, and it's so it's the questions normally relates to navigation, and then it leads into trying to teach people what that is.
And what I try to do too is, because I was fortunate to race here stateside for many years, and then I went to do rally and did Dakar and Atlas Rally in Baja, Spain and Portugal, is that having those two experiences, I try to find a language which is common between the two to help explain these things to people. And even if you go back to, we've talked before, the history of Baja, the original Baja 1000s were run with tulip notes, and they had scrolls, because there was nothing, there was no maps, there was no GPS back then. So that's where the sport was born. So, there is a history of that. So people kind of are familiar, and explain that to them and show them that. And also just talking about the differences between the way the rally works versus an off-road race here, and then but trying to find things that they can relate to so they can see a pathway forward.
And that's interesting. I mean, here they're doing a GPS course. They're everybody's business as usual.
Mm-hmm.
The question I've seen online a lot is rally really safer than following a GPS
Way
line?
safer. Way safer. Without a doubt. I'll put my teeth on a block, it's 100%.
Jay, what do you think is that big aspect? What's that? This is what makes it safer, kind of thing.
Well, because you're following notes, you have triple cautions or double cautions, and if you're following the notes, you can just convey more information through a roadbook than you can on a GPS. You can go and look statistically any event that has GPS line, the amount of crashes or accidents that happen on that. something like a guy wire from a power line or a big rock or a big drop.
Yeah, you know what the triple danger is. With just triple danger, and there's no description, it could be a massive gully, it could be a washout with a face on the other side, a guide wire from a power line. Yeah, all that's in the note when you do rally, so then you can prepare for what you have to do when you get there.
Yeah. So yeah, more information.
Yeah.
Whether you take that information in, that's up to you.
Something with it.
Sympathetic
Well, I've
drivers.
seen it on Nora when I've raced Nora before. Like, I always try to use the road book. I have a proper navigator because there's more detail in it. Every year out of Bay of LA, you'd see guys crash in the same 3 spots. And it was perfectly explained in the road book, but they just came up out of a turn and then hit the danger because they didn't have enough time to slow down, and it wasn't what they expected. So, you know, it's important, you know, to learn to if someone takes the time to build a road book on an event, try to follow it. It is there for your safety for sure. You know.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
And I think to build on to the other thing you said about the variety of stuff, one of my favorite things about rally, which is why I get people into it, is there is no other sport in the world where me, a normal rider, so say Willem, can rub shoulders with Ricky, a world champion, because it's just the difference is just too great, right? Let's take, like, to me, Dakar is the Olympics, right? I can go and line up at the Olympics as a normal guy if I have enough drive.
Yeah.
But I can't go and line up in the Olympics on the 100 meters with Usain Bolt. It's
You're
not
not going to get
possible.
on the grid of a Formula One race, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
and to me, that is one of the coolest things about rally is we're all equal, and everybody's okay with that. Like, everybody's like, okay, cool, I'm faster than you, great, but we're still riding the same course, we're still fighting the same battles, and that put us all in one, like, basket. And I don't think there's any other sport in the world that does that. So.
Yeah.
And then you can also share stories with some of the best riders. It doesn't matter. You've got, like, you know, this ability to have the same experience, and you know, and share those stories. So that's everybody goes through a really difficult stage. They can all commiserate on it. You know, whether you're a pro or an amateur. You know, so.
We're all sitting at the same waypoint trying to figure it out.
Exactly. You've got the same note, it's the same tree. Everybody goes through there. So yeah.
Nice.
Great, man.
Well, excellent.
Well, thanks
good.
for being
Thank you,
out
guys.
here,
Yeah,
Victor. Thank you,
appreciate it.
Chasing
Yeah,
Waypoints. You
thank
guys are great as always. I mean, everybody all around the world is like, even in South Africa this year, I don't know if you can see your data, but people's like, have you seen Chasing Waypoints? And like, people are really following it. So you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Good.
Let's get some more people in this.
Yeah, hopefully, that's the goal. Yeah,
Awesome.
we'll see you on the start line.
That's the plan.
All right, so it was great catching up with Darren and Willem and all of the stories. I mean, we got to hear a lot of different tales and things that are going. You know, Justin Jumet talking about his adventure at Sonora Rally and dealing with customs, getting a bike situated for the rally. There was just so many stories going around, and it was really, really awesome to just kind of hear everybody and be a part of it. But the really big thing, you know, and like had Darren mentioned, you know, being there for a week and getting a chance to set up a bivouac, you know, and get people kind of an idea of what was going on. And the installation that Ricky and Sarah did through Rip and Dip Ranch was awesome. They had catering, they had restrooms. They really did set up a real premium experience, and it was really awesome to see that. And you know, they have the tents, they have the little heaters in there. You know, the facilities, the restrooms, the food, you know, just everything was really, really awesome, and everybody was very, very welcoming. And that's what it's all about. Like, you're literally standing around this campfire, and you know, the parents are there, the friends and the close family, and everybody's just chilling and talking. And it was just this really, really awesome thing to see. I mean, it really did capture that bivouac experience. And I think it's really awesome to see that. And like Willem hit on it, you know, that's things that it's people that you meet at events like this that then later on you're going to see them in a couple of months at Sonora Rally, a few months after that at Baja Rally, or you know, or halfway across the world. I haven't seen you since Hammertown 2026, and here we are standing at the Dakar 2027. And it's one of those things that it really kind of ties everybody together and shows the community. And so it was a really, really awesome thing. I would like to see more of that kind of happen. You know, people get together and do maybe a rally weekend and trade road books and stuff like that. You know, it's like almost like a how would you say, almost like a potluck, right? If people create some road books and then bring them out and everybody just kind of hangs out and then, well, yeah, let's go ride this one today or let's go ride that one today, and I think that that would be a really, really cool experience for people, to be able to do it and then get that feedback. One of the biggest things, and Sarah actually touched on this when we were talking, there in a group, and it's like there's a bit of work that's involved with this. Rally raid is not going to be easy, especially when you're just getting started. You're looking at these notes, you're looking at these things, and it's not and it's not easy to understand. And that's okay. There's a community behind, there's people that support, there's people that want to see people succeed in this, and it just becomes a matter of, doing and putting in the work. This is something that I had touched in previous episodes, is that if you think about it, you can get, there's always that guy in the group. There's always that person in the group that's got all the gadgets, that understands the GPS is better than everybody else, that is kind of, without you really identifying it, what I'm getting at is that they're kind of already a navigator at heart. That is they like doing that. They like figuring out where they're going to be going. And the thing is that in rally, that's actually, I feel like it's contagious. You get somebody out there, you go out there, and it's been the same thing with me. I go out, I do a ride. If I've got a road book in front of me, and then, it's like, well, what does it say? And then, if I am having trouble figuring out a no, well, then they come over and going, okay, well, like, see how this is here? This says that we should be going this way. You start explaining it and what you're seeing. And then they, I don't know. You remember when we passed that road back there? This looks more like that. Okay, well, let's go check that out. And without even trying, there you have somebody else like, okay, well, actually, I figured it out. The guy that's got all the fancy equipment on his bike couldn't figure it out, but I helped them figure it out. So then it becomes a snowball effect. But the only way that happens is going out and riding. And I should talk. I know that I need to ride a bit more, get a little bit more experience on the bike. I get it. It's coming. SoCal Rally coming up in April. And then behind that, I'm going down to the Baja Rally School to go do some more learning. Always be learning. And it's one of those things that I realize that the community could grow so much bigger, but as we create plans, as we create things that help foster the community, that help foster the growth of it, and it's really more about being, friendly about it and trying to help, like, the people that are genuinely interested. There's a lot of people that have the ability, they have the resources, they know the recipe. If you really think about this, we now live in a time where it is no longer really a mystery on how to get to the Dakar Rally, the Mount Olympus of rally raid. Like Willem talked about it and has talked about it with a lot of people. You could get to it. It just needs to be a path. There needs to be some kind of direction to that, and with Darren, you have, like, between Darren and Willem, you have two incredible resources right here in North America and really actually the world, because this is no longer a game of, who's of gatekeeping, right? This is no longer the information is out there if you want to go. And so reaching out to and having conversations and traveling to the events, even if you can't travel. I mean, we have, and I'm really thankful for this, is that, we have a huge following in Canada, South Africa, we have Australia. It's really awesome to see, the growth and where people are coming from and where they're responding from and where they're tuning in from. It's just, it's crazy, but it's cool because you now have these resources and it just makes it that much easier. So I think that we're headed in the right direction for growth in the sport. But if anything else, I still think it's the future. They talked about the age-old question was answered, and I 100% agree with both Willem and with Darren. A road book, I feel, is safer than a GPS. If you don't make that GPS file, if you don't put a reminder for yourself, what it is, you could put the skull and crossbones icon on the GPS line, like, there's something there. But there might be 20 of those, and then you got to remember which one each one of those is at, and it could be something as simple like, What are you looking out for? What were we looking out for here? Was it a rock? Was it the phone wire, the support wires? Was it a concrete, was it a concrete washout section that's got no run up to it and it's just a square edge? Is it straight up a washout? Is it a flat face on the other side? Or is this a really big G out? You have to remember what those things are to know what you're looking for. And if nothing else, if you think about it this way, well, it's a caution. I should slow down anyway. Okay. But if you're looking for, there's an unknown to that. Well, what am I looking? I know I put a caution here, or whoever created this GPS file put a caution here, but I don't know what it is. What is it for? Now, you could be looking for the wrong thing. Or if it's in a racing scenario, you might be slowing down for the wrong thing. If it was just, hey, watch out because there's a telephone, support wire for a telephone pole that's a bit close to the garage or to the track, well, then you know exactly what you're looking for. And the amount that you check up or the amount that you slow down is different, but you have more confidence in that. Okay, well, there it is. Otherwise you hit something and then it's really up to the eye of the beholder. If you're a slower moto rider like me, I might come into something and think, man, that's pretty bad. I'm going to mark that. And for me, it wasn't that bad. Maybe I'll use a single caution. But then you have the guy behind you that's an A-level rider and he's doing 2 to 3 times the speed. Well, that little kind of down rough or anything just turned into a drop off. They're not going to touch anything on the way down until they get to the bottom. So again, these are things that you have to watch out for. Now, if you, in that particular case, if you put the note in the road book with the downhill on it, and then you put an exclamation point or caution or double caution, and you show and you can depict what it is in that information, well, now all of a sudden the B level, the C level, the A level rider all have the same information and then can judge it based on what they're used to, what their riding ability is. I'm coming up on this single caution. I know that it's going to be a downhill or something is going on there. Okay, I'm going to check up for that second. I want to make sure that I'm, obviously make it through there. So there's a lot that goes on to it, but I don't think that they're ever, I don't know that they're ever going to win the argument, right? If it's about what oil to put in your bike, that argument has been won many a times. And it's been won by the guy because everybody thinks that, Crisco mixed with Pennzoil and a hint and a splash of Mobil 1 is the way to go. It just, there's never going to be an actual answer to it. But I think we can get to a actual answer when it comes to, is a road book safer than a GPS file? If you made the GPS file, if you took the time to do it, maybe that's a toss-up. But if you hand that off to somebody, they may not understand your notes. They may not understand what you're meaning. Or if you think about it this way, say you're going to put together a ride of buddies, and I goes, hey, I noticed over here on this point, there's a skull and crossbones there. What does that mean? What are we looking out for there? Oh yeah, there's a pretty bad dip. Okay, cool. All right, yeah, get ready. We'll see you later. This is a scenario that could literally happen. That happened. Okay, cool. And then the next guy comes up. Hey, I saw you put a skull and crossbones. By the 5th or 6th time, you're tired of explaining it. But imagine if it was a road book. The note is there. It tells you, oh yeah, there's a downhill there. You got to watch out for that. It's all depicted there. It's not that, So everybody gets the same information. That was something that was mentioned there. When if there's a tough waypoint and it gets you get lost, everybody's going to be hanging out there. Everybody's going to be trying to figure it out. Now, there might be some strategy going on there. Can I figure it out without these guys knowing that I figured it out so they don't follow me? There's definitely some struggle there. There's definitely some camaraderie there. There's a lot that happens in that. And like Willem said, you can line up, everything lined up and you said, I'm going to the Olympics. We're going to make it happen. And you line up and then stuff. Well, the margin of competitiveness on that is so tight that there's only 2 or 3 people that, are there to actually win the event, and everybody else is going to be there. Now, Olympics are maybe not the best example, but you could go off-road racing. And we've talked about this a lot. And it's one of those things that you can get into the sport and And you start to realize, okay, well, if I'm going to go race out in the desert, the fastest guys, if it's a bomb start, the fastest guys are always going to kind of rise to the top there. Somebody might get a better line, but the ability that they have, the effort, the time, everything that they've done, the people that are getting into that first spots, it's a smaller group of people. Not to say that there's not people that are up and coming and that are going to be challenging that in a couple of years if they stick with it. But just think about this. You could be 3 notes deep, and the guys that are out opening, the top 10 could be struggling to figure it out, and you're number 11, and you just so happen to figure it out and nail it. Or even better, the first 5 guys, first 6 guys go in there, they struggle to find the note, right? They're having trouble figuring out, was I supposed to turn left at this tree? Was I supposed to turn right at this tree? And then they finally figure it out. And they say, oh, yeah, no, we definitely needed to go left at this. And then they start going left. Well, now everybody just took off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're coming by in number 11. They spent a minute trying to figure it out. You spent 0 time. You showed up to that tree. You knew that it was left because not only was the note there, but you also saw the tracks. So you just made up a couple minutes. And now those guys, instead of being 3 minutes ahead of you, now they're 1 minute ahead of you. So it really does change the way things happen in rally, and it broadens the field and broadens the people that can be competitive in the sport. And so I think that that's really where this future is going. And it seems like since the Dakar, and it feels like towards the end of last year, this has been a common theme: getting more people, getting more attention, and all that stuff. And so there's a lot of events that are coming. There's a lot of stuff but okay, we've all sat down, we all watched, the Super Bowl of rally racing. Well, now some of us will, the Super Bowl. Oh, okay, yeah, just spend a few $1 billion buying a team, and then see if you can make it, get the coaching, get all that stuff right. But in this case, it's a personal journey. Well, I want to get into rally raid. I want to do something like that. It's actually not that hard. Again, we live in a time where the information is right there, and it's kind of an interesting, it's an interesting thing, and I think that it is the future of riding as more and more lands get closed, especially here in California. You need a bike that has a license plate. Well, now you're going to have to communicate from one to the other in trails, and you're going to have to be able to do it on a plated bike. And so there's not going to be course markings. There's a lot of stuff that's going on. And I feel like there's the government that's trying really, really hard to limit the land access and then limit the vehicles that are on that land, So I don't know. And we won't go too political on it. But that's pretty much, the stuff that I've been seeing. And I think that it's coming to a point where we're going to get a chance to see more people go. It was really awesome to see, Paul Hart there, Justin Jumet, and Ryan Nerino as well, out of All American Rally Raid, all there. They're all Dakar hopefuls. And it's cool to see that you've got the been there, done that, side of the crowd. You have Darren, you have Willem, you have Sarah, you have Ricky, that are all there that have done the Dakar Rally, the been there, done that. And then you have the going there and doing that crowd, with Justin and Ryan, Paul. It's really a cool, it's really a cool environment, and it does foster that growth. And I think that it helps grow leaps and bounds for the sport. So I don't know. There's a lot that could be said about it. I think we're headed in the right direction. What do you guys think? Drop it down in the comments. And for those of you that don't, what is he talking about, this whole rally rate thing? So I'll leave it in a pinned comment down below so you guys can check it out. But I created a guide. It's very, very high level. It really just is meant to get you introduced into it, into the concepts of rally. Nothing fancy, layman's terms, just super simple. So check it out. It's in the pinned comments here on YouTube. And, let me know what you guys think. But, we'll see. There's a lot more to come. We're going to be working on some more of that content as well for those of you guys that are interested in learning more and doing more in this community. But with that being said, I got to get into the garage. I got a bike. I got to get ready because apparently I'm doing SoCal Rally in a few months, actually. And then, yeah, training. And I probably should be riding today. Yeah, that's what I should be doing. Anyway, it'll make sense when you get there. Enjoy the ride.